The story of African energy is one of immense promise, and the leading chapters are still being written.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today to our very interesting fire chat.
You know, we've been doing a lot of work in South Africa. I just joined the company as an explorationist and really trying to understand, you know, some of the petroleum system elements that we're seeing on the offshore. So, you know, in that research and in that data interrogation, we put the pieces of the puzzle together, we feel, which is effectively that you had a really good reservoir system coming in. You had a really fantastic source rock that was around Southern Africa going into South Africa.
A global crisis is unfolding. Geopolitical tensions are flaring. Instability has once again exposed the vulnerabilities we face from an over-reliance on fossil fuels. Meanwhile, energy demand is surging, driven by AI, rapid electrification, a boom in cooling and manufacturing, and economic transformation. At a moment of profound global shifts, reliable energy remains essential for the global economy and provides the foundation for modern well-being, powering homes, vehicles, and businesses. But now we face a choice. We can meet growing demand with outdated technologies and insecure fuels. Or we can accelerate the shift to pragmatic, scalable, clean technologies that boost energy security and stabilize prices. The decisions made today will shape economic competitiveness, prosperity, and energy security for decades to come. And no one can change the trajectory alone. Together, we will confront the speed and scale of a changing global energy landscape, and we will connect deeply on the solutions we need to meet the demand surge and gain energy security through clean, abundant, affordable, and reliable energy. This moment calls for leadership. We're here to build the clean energy future together.
Fatih, I want to get started with the most obvious question.
Which is
the moment we find ourselves of what's happening in the conflict in the Middle East. Because energy is, because of that conflict, energy is in headline in every newspaper, everywhere in the world. It's just from where you sit.
Yeah.
Because your IEA's job is to look at the system. How do you see it?
How do I see the situation?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, this is, I would say 28th of February, we woke up, all of us, with a new conflict started in Iran. And this is the Gulf region is the center of the global energy exports, oil and gas. It was a major shock. And I told my colleagues, I brought my managers, I said, we don't speak to press. We don't go to the events like this. We follow the markets, and if we say something, it could have an impact on the markets. So 3 weeks, IEA was completely silent. We look at the numbers, follow the numbers, what is happening, what is not happening. But then, and I decided at the weekend that the world didn't understand the scale of the problem. Still, there is a bit of a underappreciation of the thing. And then I came on Monday, I talked to one newspapers calling this situation as the largest energy supply disruption in the history. We have up to now 3 major energy crisis, many of them are 73, oil crisis, 79 oil crisis, and then 2022, after the Russia's invasion of Ukraine in Europe and elsewhere, the gas crisis. Why I call this as the largest one, because you know I'm a man of numbers, I look at the numbers. 73, the world has lost 5 million barrels per day of oil. 79, again around 5 million barrels per day of oil, and altogether 10 million. But as of now in this one, we already lost 14 million barrels per day. When Russia invaded Ukraine, when Russia cut the gas, the amount of gas we lost was 75 BCM, and now we lost more than 120 BCM. So putting all of them together means it is the largest energy supply disruption in the history. Plus, and there is a plus that many of us sometimes in the energy work we forget, through this strait, incredibly vital commodities go through as well. Petrochemicals, helium, sulfur, fertilizers, I will come to that in a moment. So it is a serious situation for the economy, global economy, but mostly I am worried about the emerging and developing countries where they don't have the financial muscles, because we will see inflation numbers may go up. I mean, they're already going up. And some of you may remember 73, 79, when as a result of those crises, many developing countries fell into the external debt spiral. And even there were some political implications, governments fell down. And so it is not an easy situation. And as long as the Strait of Hormuz is fully opened, with giving the confidence, commercial confidence to all the actors, it is a risky situation. And what is happening now, the oil prices are $110 around that levels. People think it is low, but in fact, let's don't forget, it is about double what it was before. But on top of that, it may go higher up because currently what the world is using in terms of oil, why prices don't go up even higher, is the following. Before this war has started, we at the IEA, and many people agree with us, there was a lot of surplus of oil, lots of buffer. We are using this, plus, and this is very important, countries are using the stocks they have, their commercial stocks, and they are not limitless. We are coming to the end. And the worst thing, if the Hormuz Strait doesn't open in June, next month, sometime in June, around July and August, the traveling season starts. So demand typically, when we come to July, August, demand goes up and the stocks are diminishing, then it may be even more critical than today. Maybe I'll finish this part with giving one more element, which is not energy related, but this is fertilizers. I am very worried about this because three top crops, the wheat, crops, rice, when you look at them, 60% of the production cost comes from fertilizers plus diesel. And both of them are increasing. And we are entering the planting season in many developing countries. So we are entering traveling season and planting season at a time where we have the problem of these two. So this is the situation. I know it's a bit not very, how shall I say, not very optimistic or whatever you call it, but this is where we are.
We'll get you to optimist end of the day.
Okay, I can come if you wish any moment, but this is there will be a reaction to that. This is what excites me a lot. There will be a reaction, but how this reaction will be is very important to read the game, learn a bit from the history, okay? And there are many, many opportunities to make the most out of this crisis if the world if the governments, if the industry want to so. But if you wish, we can come to
No, I really like, Fatih, that you mentioned the food, because we hear a lot
I learned
about
from my daughter all of these things. Yeah.
Fatih's daughter worked at WRI too once,
Once.
maybe again. But Fatih, the food issue, the price of urea in parts of the world, India is already skyrocketing. So there is a direct connection, the food security issue that you made. But I wanted to go back what you said about, to the topic of this gathering today. The demand was already surging for artificial intelligence in one part of the world, for electrification. That's what's happening in India, Indonesia, China. So India, the demand for electricity, Indonesia, air conditioning demand has increased. So demand was already surging actually that's why the topic of this thing is about how to manage. How do you see this that you just described about what is happening in the Middle East? It's going to impact that demand curve in these two regions. That it's, again, I want to repeat, it's not just artificial. Demand was other parts of the world was also increasing.
Of course. Now, Ani, this is even before this started, some of you might have heard, I was saying that the world is entering the age of electricity. So what do I mean with that? The global economy has been fueled by different energy sources throughout the history. When you look at the Industrial Revolution, it was fueled by coal. Remember the coal, I don't know if there are many English colleagues here, the coal mines, the people are bringing coal to the factories and so on. Coal was the dominant source. Then coal was replaced, still used, but replaced by oil and gas. We use a lot of oil and gas now, and we will use oil and gas years to come. Okay. But now when I look at the numbers, something very exciting. Electricity consumption is skyrocketing, that we have never seen before. Now, energy demand, you are right, energy demand is increasing, but in the last few years, electricity demand is increasing 2 times faster than the total energy demand. And why it is happening? There are 3 reasons. There are already some established drivers of global electricity demand, but there are 3 reasons, additional reasons. One of them is, you mentioned, AI and data centers. In my humble view, the artificial intelligence race between US, China, Europe, India, and the others, who will win this race will critically hinge on who will have a lot of electricity available, lots of electricity and cheap electricity. Okay, and because there is no AI without electricity. Finish. This is a big driver. Number 1. Number 2, electric cars. We just published a report yesterday. The electric car sales today, this year, will be 30% of all new cars will be electric. And 5 years ago, it was 5%. And wait, you will see the trucks next year. If you invite me again, I will tell you the trucks coming in the picture. Third, in fact, the most important one among all in terms of numbers, if we make here a survey, if we close the things, everybody says, I ask, what is the most important driver of electricity demand growth? I think many of us would know, I would myself wouldn't know. It is the increasing number of air conditioners. Okay? In the United States, 90% of the households in your country have air conditioners, so is Japan. But in India, 20%, Nigeria, 5%. With the increasing income levels and the increasing temperature thanks to climate change, people, when they buy air conditioners, very normal. It's a normal, comfortable, reasonable life. So these 3 are the additional drivers of the age of electricity. So we will see the age of electricity is growing, and I very much would like to discuss whenever you want. I believe one of the responses to this crisis would be acceleration of electrification around the world. Not necessarily, I have to be very frank, not necessarily for climate change reasons, but for economic, national security and sovereignty reasons.
So Fatih, I want to come to that. So I just want to say this. I think we missed this electrification point you just made. Just what you said about air conditioning. You know, between India and Indonesia in 2018, there were 17 million air conditioners. Now there are 300 million air conditioners. Just this period, and these two countries' growth curves, as you know, the 400 million middle class people in India only today. So, because we focus a lot on AI-driven demand, which is we should, but the demand is actually surging for all over the world.
Exactly.
So just coming back to this idea of demand curve growth, which is true.
Yeah.
The point you were just going to, how do you see from IEA, because you look at the transition as a whole, and you've been arguing even before the demand surge took place last 5 years, that the transition to go forward, it actually, a lot of it needs to be clean, not has to be clean, needs to be clean for us to manage. How do you see it now?
So we have many wishes at the IEA, but nobody cares. Therefore, we look at the numbers. I tell you a couple of numbers. Last year, Ani, of all the power plants built in the world, 75% were renewables, and of which biggest share goes to solar. Solar is the biggest winner here, and followed by natural gas and nuclear power. So why I am saying this is that IEA wishes this, IEA wishes, we wish, everybody wishes something. It is happening not because we wish, it is happening because of the economics of the story. If we had a discussion 15 years ago on this, solar, when we talk about solar in the IEA, solar was a romantic story. Okay, very nice, but now it is a business. Yes. It is everywhere. Now, my biggest hope is that we find ways, in economic sense, in a secure way, solar plus batteries make a perfect sense 24/7. It's not yet there. I know there are different views by our numbers, but we are getting there very close. This is one. We will see a wind a bit slower, and I think, I don't know, there are different views on this technology, but I think nuclear power will make a big contribution as well, especially small modular reactors. And we have, I don't know if we have many European colleagues here. In my view, Europe made a tremendous mistake, okay, by turning it back to nuclear power. 20 years ago, I was talking with a colleague now. In Europe, 30% of the electricity was coming from nuclear power, but now it is going down. So, and also, I have to tell you that we will see also natural gas will have an important share, especially in the United States, because of the data centers. You need a lot of electricity very, very quickly. But the problem with natural gas is that if you want today, and we decide today is Thursday, by Friday, you were inspired by this discussion, you order a gas turbine, you wait at least 5 years. There is a big backlog there. So this is one part. The second part is electricity generation. Second part is on the demand side. So what we have to do, we have to generate as much as possible electricity, in my view, and we have to use as much as electricity. What does it mean, use? There are many areas that we can electrify. One of those is transportation sector. I mean, I mentioned the cars, but believe me, trucks are on their way to come. Second, the heat pumps, they will come through as well. And third, the biggest problem I have today is the grids. How do we make the grids smart grids, and how do we link everything together? There are some good examples. I will not give the names of the companies, but it is very important if we link the demand, generation, and the users together in the right way with the smart digital technologies.
But the electrification, as you said, I think lots of amazing things are happening on electrification, even in high heat sector. Faustine here leads a whole, meaning on cement, steel, glass, the things that we thought would be difficult to electrify. There's a lot of innovation going on there. I did want to, because you mentioned nuclear. I wonder if you could give me a short, because nuclear gets discussed a lot in both ways. Yes. That it is an incredible solution, we should invest in it, and as you know, in the United States, there's a lot of excitement. A lot of venture capital is actually in nuclear and small. At the same time, the other side, that this won't be available for a while and will be much more expensive comparatively. The relative cost of unit of energy. What is IEA? You don't have to give a long answer. I just want to know where IEA is on this.
So I cannot say IEA. We have member countries who love nuclear, member countries who don't love nuclear very much. So there are different views between them. But at the IEA, put it this way, we say what we believe is the right thing, and they agree or disagree. I was 2 weeks ago in Berlin, in Germany. There was this Petersberg Climate Dialogue they organize every year. Yep. I told the Bundeskanzler Merz, I said, I follow Mr. Prime Minister, the German energy and Bundesliga. You know Bundesliga, this is football. It is also not very exciting because Bayern Munich is always champions.
Not as good as not as good as a Turkish one.
Yeah, not as good. By the way, if there are any Arsenal fans, let me congratulate them. So this is so after so many decades. By the way, if there are any Arsenal fans, what is the secret of being a champion this year? If they want to know, please see me after this break. I will tell you. Now, I told him the following. Mr. Bundeskanzler, I don't understand a country like Germany, okay, decides the nuclear power plants, is my view, okay, which are working like a Swiss clock, which brings about 30% of the German electricity. You shut it down and you try to find ways to, I hope I don't insult anybody, but you find ways to replace it with the green hydrogen from Namibia with the pipelines. It doesn't go through my head. And this is the country of Immanuel Kant. The country of reason. It's not a very. It's a numbers, mechanics, and everything that I don't understand. This is, of course, some people like it, some people don't like it, but especially the existing ones shutting down is, in my view, a strategic, historic mistake. And Bundeskanzler, I have to be honest, he himself said later on that it was a historic mistake of Germany doing it because Germany has a major competitiveness problem today. But nuclear is not a solution to everything. And nuclear needs huge amount of capital, especially if we are entering an era after this crisis when if the interest rates goes up, the financing cost goes up, this capital intensive infrastructure will be more difficult to build. So in my view, there is a need for new models to finance this, and plus I expect small model reactors will be much faster to come to the markets as well, because they are in the United States and elsewhere. The AI companies, data centers, they have deep pockets. These technology companies, they are making some steps in that direction. SMRs may come. So nuclear is not a panacea, but I think nuclear power should be part of the total energy mix. But the lion's share of global electricity generation growth will come from renewables. That's what our numbers show.
Let me ask a question to move from this topic. Something that is close to your heart, you always talk about it, and I just want to see how what's happened in the world. There's still 2 billion people who have not clean cooking fuel. There's 7 to 30 million people that still don't have dependable electricity, and IEA always talks about it. And we know that, and that's something we should talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about today. But my question is, how do you see what's happening right now, what we just discussed last 20 minutes? How does that impact the bigger access problem we all are trying to solve?
Badly. I think I am very worried that from this situation, the continent which will pay the biggest bill will be Africa again. So first of all, Asia is at the forefront because Asian countries, when you think about it, 80% of their oil and 90% of their gas comes from the Hormuz Strait. And this is a big wake-up call for Asia to think about this. But if the prices continue to increase, it will be Africa which will pay for it. And because the LPG prices will go up and the inflation numbers will go up. Africa this is climate change. Africa's share in the cumulative CO2 emissions is 3%, but the worst impact of climate change comes to Africa. Again, Africa has nothing to do with the climate change problem, but they pay for it. And this war, Africa doesn't have anything to do with this, but Africa may again pay for it. Clean cooking is the following, for the colleagues who do not know. This is, Annie knows, I'm since almost 30 years, 3 decades, I am trying to do something on this. In Africa today, 4 out of 5 families, use wood agricultural waste to prepare the meal. And this is mostly a woman. And doing this creates a lot of respiratory disease for women. It is the second reason for the premature death for women in Africa. Every year, 500,000 women dies from that. And this is something very simple to solve, for God's sake. It's very simple to solve. And but what is needed, one of the quick solutions is the LPG. But now, given the situation now we are talking, neither the countries have the muscles nor the companies have this priority. We are organizing every year we organize a major summit. It's like this summit in Kenya, the President Ruto, and I have the United States being part of it, Norway, African Development Bank to raise money for the countries. But this will make the Africa's job once again more difficult.
Because we also have to have innovation there, because LPG is a very good solution, but given where we're going, well, LPG, we can see it already in India where they made great progress in getting LPG, but now the LPG costs.
Yes, exactly.
So, Fatih, as we close in this room, this incredible group of people are going to spend the next few hours thinking about true solutions to the problems we talked about. What are the 1 or 2 things you want everyone to remember as they go to their groups and think about it?
I want to, maybe one thing I can say, to remember, I don't know if you remember or not, but I tell you what, because I'm learning from history. When this, in 1973, 1979, 2022, we had 3 major crises, and there will be any major strategic responses which will change the global energy map. For example, we talk about nuclear. In fact, the real birth of nuclear power was a reaction to the oil crisis. Second, before the 70s, the oil crisis happened, an average car to drive 100 kilometers needed about 20 liters of gasoline or diesel. And after that, it was a transformation. It required only 10 liters, the car fuel efficiency. Yeah. Or other things happen, not always the right things. For example, Europe made, in my view, a historic mistake. Europe thought to have over-reliance on Middle East is wrong, which is the diagnosis is right. But Europe pivoted to Russia for diversification. So there will be a lot of choices to make. In Europe, after the Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the renewable capacity installations increased by a factor of 3 because we make the licensing and permitting much faster, give them strategic priority. So there will be responses to that. This excites me a lot. If we are able to make these responses going in the right way, which helps improve the affordability, energy security, and also sustainability, then this will be incredible, the change in the global energy map. And I can assure you, I talked with many governments around the world, developing countries, developed countries, everywhere. I go to Canada, I go to India. Every country will review their energy strategies in the next few years, and they will come with this. So there are so many brains here. They should help these governments, companies, to make the right plans. And these right plans are not only for the sake of the helping the betterment of the world, but it will also help their companies and those countries' economies. This the chance, I finish with this, the difference between now and 70s is the following. We have much more now cost-effective and available technology with us compared to 70s. We have to make good use of it, good planning, and go forward.
Karibu sana, Akwaba, Saubona, Ekabo.
Good morning and welcome to African Energy Week 2025. In this year's Energy Week, we commit to positioning Africa as a true global energy champion.
It is indeed an honor to be here at the 5th African Energy Week. 5 years ago, many of you in this room, you asked us to build something more than a conference. You asked us to build a movement that will speak up for our continent, that will speak up for an industry.
The story of African energy is one of immense promise, and the leading chapters are still being written, supporting a continental marketplace where innovation, investment, and ambition converge. Let us make this the decade in which Africa's energy sector not only meets its potential, but leads the world, driving prosperity, resilience, and transformation.
So by working together with respect, with strong partnerships, Africa's journey towards a just and sustainable energy future will prove it once again. Africa is opportunity, Africa is energy.
It is important to give women a seat at the table on decisions relating to energy security, particularly on the African continent. When the energy industry is opened and the market is opened and widened, all businesses can benefit. Diversity is good business for all organizations.
Africa's time is now, and Africa must take the opportunity now. Capital is very mobile, it's going to find opportunities somewhere. And as long as we can ensure that there's policy harmonization, we can go further together.
Across our continent, we are blessed in abundant resources: oil, gas, solar, land, the wind. We also have all the necessary resources to develop our country.
As we've been hearing from many of the presentations here, there is enormous proven resource in Africa. All over the place, onshore, offshore, everywhere else. But the investors need three things. They need that proven resource. They need a predictable rule of law that if they put their money to work, they can pull money out at the proper time. And three, they need a predictable enough security environment. If you do those three things, a lot of good will flow.
Yes, Africa's energy sector holds immense potential, but the truth is Africa's tired of just saying potential. We want now reality to sink in. We need to have forums that have outcomes that we implement for ourselves.
Over the last few days, we've seen incredible collaboration.
Our future and Africa's future is not for us to predict, it's for us to create. And we create that by driving those new chapters and produce energy for every African. That is a must, and our generation can do it. It is not impossible. Let's go, Africa, and thank you guys so much, and I really appreciate it.